Chapter 70. Tearing up will drink the wine. The first stroke of a poem that became a sob. And this is used up. What a waste. Literary aura in the body. A world of books. What a waste. That's the first brushstroke of chivalry, and it's just torn away. Even though the people of the city were dissatisfied with Bat Ancestor. But seeing Ziwei and Chongsheng turning their eyes and tearing up the first pen of the chivalrous axe, there was a pang of regret. Vertical Sun, how dare you? Bat Ancestor steeply glared with his eyes and roared. However, he saw that after the first pen of the chivalric axe was torn, all the internal vast and righteous chi entered Ziwei and Chongsheng's body, and the volume of the chivalric axe paper, even more so, was turned into crumbs and slowly disappeared into thin air. Ziwei, Chongsheng's body skyrocketed to 10 feet, and a huge breath surged out wildly. This is, Gu Hai said in surprise. Chivalry, too bad. Such a chapter this is wasted. Sima Feng on the side frowned. No, why their bodies? Gu Hai said in surprise. Book Dao Breath Al. That piece of chivalry contains rolls of Hao Ranzheng Che. As long as the first stroke is torn and ripped, the Hao Ranzheng Che inside will pour into the body of the person who ripped it, turning it into infinite power for a short period of time. The more Hao Ranzheng Che there is, the more power there is. Mr. Gu, you don't know. Sima Feng on the side was stunned. First time I've heard of it. Gu Hai's eyes however lit up. Sima Feng's jaw dropped, and he even forgot about Bat Ancestor's strike. First time I've heard of it. Seriously, Book Dao cultivators, nearly all of them knew about it. Gu Hai heard about it for the first time. You still aren't a Book Dao cultivator. Sima Feng's face showed bitterness. How could someone who could create such a chapter be a Book Dao cultivator? Just, why is he so ignorant to create such a chapter? I'm so talented, but I can't write it. Not only does the literary chair enter the body, there is also the book realm that enters the world. The book chivalry possesses the body, and the two of them are the absolute chivalry of the book. Sima Feng explained bitterly. Gu Hai, however, stared at the duo's huge figures dead on. Dare your mother. Gu Hai said it was given to us. It's ours. We can tear it if we want to. It's not like I've torn it for one or two more. Get in front of me. You're looking for death. Roll your mother. You are the little doll. Your whole family are little dolls. Ziwei and Chongsheng burst into foul language, each brushing over with their brushes. The brushes came out as if they were two chivalrous sword-shaped rainbows, crashing into the Bat Ancestor with a loud bang. My chivalry. You guys actually dared to destroy my chivalry, looking for death. The Bat Ancestor's face was hideous, and his left hand, which had just paused, once again stretched out. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Countless bats surrounded, and with that palm, they grabbed towards the two giants. Boom! The sword-shaped rainbow suddenly lurched and exploded. What? As Ziwei and Chongsheng's faces changed, they could only meet the palm. Boom, boom. The two palms slammed into the top of the Bat Ancestor's right palm. The two giants violently stamped their feet, and the peak of the Five Mountains Academy shook if it was about to collapse. Oh shit, fuck. Forgot about my current strength. I only have Jindan realm power. Even if Haran Genki is in my body, I can't exert much power. It's over. I'm not going to be able to top it. Ziwei and Chongsheng's faces immediately changed, and they were ruthlessly pressed down by the Bat Ancestor's right palm. Countless bats in the surroundings surged towards Ziwei and Chongsheng, but the sound of countless ghosts and gods sobbing and chanting in the void surrounded the duo, impacting the bats in general with sound waves. Humph, not self-conscious, the Bat Ancestor let out a cold snort, and his hands became harder and harder. Ziwei and Chongsheng didn't calculate the power, but Gu Hai's eyes lit up. Tearing apart the verse of the first brush, one could have the vast chi on his body. The power of Tajindan realms could reach the strength of the heaven-opening palace for a short period of time. The Bat ancestor pressed down Ziwei and Chongsheng with one palm, but with his other palm, he grabbed at the group of people around Guhai. A palm grab was not much weaker than the one that dealt with Ziwei and Chongsheng. That was the great Qian envoy. Bat ancestor, don't, King Shikong, Mo Yikari, and Qin Zibai shrieked. Beginning ancestor, you can't, Chongsheng also anxiously said. Get lost, you guys, don't force me to get angry. The Bat ancestor let out a cold shout. The crowd of Dayuan officials were but a burst of helplessness. As his left palm grabbed towards the crowd, the Bat ancestor's face was grim as he said, Stinky girl, you also have today, hey ha ha. As Bat ancestor's left palm grabbed and seemed to be about to topple everyone, Li Shenji steeply took out a long sword and rushed up to meet the sword. Humph, old thing, still don't really know your surname. Li Shenji chopped down with his sword. Countless bats instantly greeted him. As the sword chopped down, the countless bats instantly exploded. The Bat ancestor's face turned cold. Boom. The left palm blasted to meet the long sword with a loud bang. A stormy wind swirled in the void. The long sword and the left palm stalemated, and the Bat ancestor's face was gloomy. Hey, Li Shenji. Some ability to make it to the middle heavenly palace. Li Shenji's face was icy cold. His hand exerted further force. The Bat ancestor's left palm power also skyrocketed. Right now, the Bat ancestor's hands were entangled. But right at this moment, the countless bats in front of the Bat ancestor's chest deeply coalesced and transformed into yet another palm with a roar. A third hand, Long Wenyu's face changed. Your Majesty. It's me he's going to deal with. Take care. Bingji shoved the General Wine into Guhai's arms, and her figure quickly flew off into the distance. Bingji wanted to leave quickly in case she dragged Guhai down with her. In the twinkling of an eye, she had already flown some distance away. Want to run? Ha ha ha, my Bat Sea domain. You still want to run? The Bat ancestor let out a cold snort. That third hand steeply crossed time and space in general, instantly traveling far away and grabbing the Ice G, who was about to vanish. Ice mirror technique, Bingji let out a loud shout. Steeply, a huge ice ball condensed in mid-air, and the Bat ancestor's third hand grabbed onto it with a roar. Boom! Bingji was trapped in the ice ball, and Bat ancestor's third hand grabbed down, instantly causing countless cracks to appear in the ice ball. Little girl, are you leaving? Go away. Hey ha ha. Bat ancestor laughed coldly with a hideous face. The Bat ancestor alone manipulated the entire field. Li Shenji didn't know if he had done his best, but, at the moment, a sword stalemated Bat ancestor's left hand. Ziwei and Chongsheng's bodies were getting shorter and shorter, and they were also anxious at this moment. Bingji was even more anxious, but she was grabbed by Bat ancestor's third hand, so she couldn't escape at all. In the metropolis, countless people had anxious faces. The peak of the Wuyu Academy had already collapsed, and at this moment, a group of officials also had anxious faces, wanting to stop the Bat ancestor, but, yet, they didn't dare. Sima Kong took out his flying boat and flew up with Long Wenyu and Guhai's group. Sima Feng, protect Wenyu, Guhai said in a deep voice. Saying that, Guhai picked up the piece of General Wine and tore it violently. What? Don't. In the city, countless cultivators of the Book Dao instantly shouted furiously. The first brush, there was only one in the world that will enter the wine, but it had just conquered all the Book Dao cultivators. And all the book cultivators had worshipped it as a holy text, and you tore it up. Don't you see the water of the yellow river coming from the sky, running to the sea without return? Don't you see the white hair in the mirror? It's like green silk turning into snow. Life should be as happy as possible. Don't make the golden bottle empty to the moon. Born to be useful, 1,000 pieces of gold are scattered and come back again. The booming sound of ghosts and gods weeping and chanting resounded once again. The moment Gu Hai tore up will enter the wine, he didn't know how many people's hearts were torn apart. That was will enter the wine. Gu Hai, you're bold, Bat Ancestor roared with a steep glare. At this moment, with 200 million people watching, the Bat Ancestor, although rampant, had tightened up a lot. As long as he gave the 2 articles to himself, he would let you live. But those 2 idiots tore up the chivalry, and that was it. But Gu Hai even tore up will enter the wine. That article, you're willing to tear it too. The moment it was torn open, the ghosts and gods of the great sobbing and chanting resounded through the 4 directions of heaven and earth. And where the paper was cracked, it was the white light that shone in the sky and the earth. And at that moment, it seemed like a round of the sun appeared out of thin air. Bat Ancestor opened his mouth to swallow, but, at this moment, the Haori has a great power, but slowly manipulate hundreds of millions of righteous chair into Gu Hai's body. Gu Hai felt that a holy power surged into his body, just like the mobilization of a country's power in the past. However, it seemed that all these powers were relatively weak, more weak than the mobilization of a country's power. But, in the end, it allowed Gu Hai's power to be in the midst of a geometric surge. Little by little, the Haorian seeped into Gu Hai's body. The huge Haori entered the body, seemingly to prop up Gu Hai's body. This prop-up was not uncomfortable, but very gentle. But Gu Hai didn't let the Haoran Genki transform his body. Instead, he squeezed this force into a bunch of Danshan and Divine Palace. There was also that dense and incomparable flesh. Rumble. Gu Hai jumped out of the flying boat, and a wave of chair swept around him in all directions, blowing a bunch of bats that couldn't get close. Brother-in-law, be careful, Long Wen Yu had an anxious face. Sima Feng, however, maneuvered the flying boat to take Long Wen Yu back towards the outside world. No one dared to stop Long Wen Yu. Gradually, all of the vast and righteous chair surged into Gu Hai's body, and bursts of ghosts and gods weeping and chanting surrounded him, making Gu Hai's figure, which was blossoming with 10,000 feet of white light, appear incomparably sacred. In the city, Fairy Wana anxiously flew out of the restaurant to fly out of the city. Sima Changkong and Divine Martial King also sank, revealing a hint of worrying. Gu Hai's power was getting stronger and stronger. A round of Haori entered his body. And at this moment, his power reached its peak. Gu Hai felt that there had never been this sense of power before. There Yin. Above his back, the life execution blade was pulled out with a roar. Power was poured into the life execution blade, and the life execution blade instantly blossomed with a dazzling purple light, as if it was going to chop up the Bat Ancestor along with Gu Hai. My General Wine, bastard, kill him for me. The Bat Ancestor glared and roared. He had come to seize the chivalry and the General Wine, but he didn't want Gu Hai and those 2 idiots to actually tear it apart without giving it to him. The Bat Ancestor was instantly furious. Raw, among the officials, a group of vampires immediately bared their fangs, seemingly about to charge up. This is the Great Qian Emissary. Do you want to plunge my Great Yuan into war? Unbridled, Chong Sheng's eyes glared as he stopped the crowd of vampires. However, Qin Zibai was suddenly charging up. Boom! Qin Zibai grasped his long sword in his hand and steeply blocked in front of Gu Hai. Mr. Gu, stop. None of you are a match for the Bat Ancestor. Don't move forward. Gu Hai revealed a cold smile and ignored it. His foot stepped on Chaiyuan, and the life execution blade blasted out. Buzz! 200 huge blade auras surrounded Gu Hai in all directions. The life execution blade even seemed to have triggered the 9 heavens' divine thunder. And as it chopped down, it actually dragged down 9 giant dragon-like purple thunderbolts.